Hello, welcome to another 5-minute Bible study. I'm Carl Santos, the pastor at New City Church in Calgary. So for the next little while, we're going to take a look at the top 25 most searched for Bible verses in the world according to various search engines. I think it's important to look at these verses because people are obviously finding comfort in them and curious about them. But they're often taken out of context. When we pluck a single verse out of the Bible outside of the context within which it's written, it's very easy to misunderstand it and to basically be believing and trusting in something that is not true, quite frankly. So let's start there, and we're doing these in no particular order, but let's start with Matthew 11:28. So let me scroll down and find it for you here. So here we are. So here in the green is the verse that is searched for, but I set it in the context. So verse 28 we know very well if you're a Christian is this: "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." That's Jesus speaking. Now, the context, though, is important, so let me try to set it in the context. So at the top here in verse 25, "At that time Jesus declared, 'I thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you've hidden these things from the wise and the understanding and revealed them to little children.'" First, we need to understand, what are these things? What is this? Because what are these things? He hasn't said it in this passage. And to understand that, you have to go up a little higher, earlier. And there's a section just before here, right before we hit this verse, where Jesus is speaking to cities, Chorazin and Bethsaida, that have not accepted him. They have rejected him as the Messiah. They're not accepting salvation, and he is very upset with them. And he frankly tells them that, hey, even Sodom, that terrible city from Genesis, even they would have repented if they saw what you're seeing, and you have not. So it's going to be hard for you. So these things that he's talking about here are judgment. Sorry, bad writing. And salvation. So the truth about salvation and judgment, God has revealed to the little children. And that means to those who are trusting, those who trust God, those who are humble, those who come completely like we do when we're children to our parents and our children do to us. They come trusting that you have the best interest of their best interest in mind. And to those people, God is revealing who he is and all of these things. And then Jesus goes on, "Yes, Father, for such was your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son and anyone to whom he chooses to reveal him." What Jesus is doing now is let me get another color here. He is saying something incredible. He is introducing this. If you want to know the Father, and if you want the benefits of knowing the Father, such as rest, if you want all of these things, there's a problem, because you can't know him directly. You must go to him through the Son, Jesus. Okay? So he's introducing this idea that if you are one of these people who have, rightly so, sought the Bible for comfort, you've looked to God for comfort, and you've seen this verse 28 and you think, look, God offers me rest. Yeah, he does. He completely does. But he does it within the context of relationship. You do not get rest unless you come, as Jesus actually says, to me. You see what Jesus has done here? You must come to Christ if you expect to get the rest, because this is not a dispensary like a pharmacy where you come in with pink eye and you get your eye drops and you go home, drop the eye drops in, the sickness is gone. Christ comes and says, I can heal you, I can help you, I can lighten your load, but you don't just come and get something from me. You come to me, and then I will give it to you. You do not come and just take it. You don't earn rest by working harder, by praying right, by giving to the church, by attending church, by doing any good works for the poor and the needy. Your works don't get you anything. You must come to Christ. And that's where the rest comes from. He grants you the rest when you come to him. You see, you're actually only going to get rest when what you want is not the rest primarily, but Christ. It's kind of ironic that to get rest, you must actually want Christ more than you want rest. And you'll find that when you come to Christ, you will get the rest. And this is the hard part. We have to be very careful with as Christians as well, that we tell people that when you come to Christianity, yes, the yoke you get is easy. The life becomes easier and the burden becomes lighter. But make no mistake, friends, it is still a yoke. That the Christian life is still not easy. The Christian life doesn't come with anesthesia. You still will suffer. You still may get cancer. You still may be divorced. You may lose your job. You may struggle with all kinds of things. You're going to struggle. But what you're going to find is that when you're with Christ, your biggest problems, which is your fear that you're not good enough, that you're not the dad you should be, the mom you should be, the worker, the son, the daughter, the husband, the wife, the way you want to keep up with the Joneses and feel all the anxiety and the pressure of living today, those anxieties drip away. So you find that the biggest burdens are lifted, and the ones you're left with seem light by comparison, because you have a living God who has paid and secured everything for you. And unless you understand verse 28 in the context of a relationship with Christ, you're going to misunderstand it. And you're going to be frustrated when you become a Christian and find that your life isn't any easier. and you're going to leave and say, the burden wasn't lighter, it's a lie. But it's not true. If you want to have rest, you must come to Christ. And that is what Matthew 11:28 is saying.